Hello, malt mates. Welcome to the Bothy. Welcome to the Whisky Bothy. Welcome to my Whisky Extras, number 1079. And before I go any further, I just reviewed this whisky and I forgot to give it a blend mark. So I'm going to do that right now. Where's my noodle container with the malt marks in it and the blend marks? This is a blend mark, which is really quite high because it's a vintage blend. This has been in the bottle 20 years. It's weathered very well. I'm giving it 84 out of 100. Scotch blended whisky mark. I'm glad I bought it. I was looking at other bottles. I bid on roughly about 12 different bottles and I won on the bids on roughly 4 of them, which was fine. And I'm going to talk about that because the whisky landscape here in May 2025 is changing rapidly. And at the moment we are hearing the sound of silence from many distilleries as it sinks in that the good times have suddenly stopped and that even regular whisky drinkers are not buying whisky. And one important reason is, apart from the price of some whiskies being just too high, and they really are too high, and this has caused resentment amongst customers who see the ultra-premiumisation by the whisky industry of its products beyond our reach, and then they wonder why we're not buying. A result of which, as a direct result of this, we look at the particular brands and we take them off our shopping list no matter what the price. So even when they are significantly reduced in price, we're still not buying. And we know that the passive consumer isn't buying because they're looking after their health now. Because we're now in a moment post-pandemic where there is a huge amount of personal health scares going around for one reason and another. I'm not saying any more than that, but you know about it and I know about it, and we don't even have to say any more about it because we understand the situation. So we got to get on with it because that's part of the human condition. So what the passive consumer does is they say, right, I'm going alcohol free for the next 3 months, and then they discover how much money they've saved because they've not been going to bars, they've not been paying for taxis, and they've not been socialising with friends that they're probably bored with anyway, and therefore they're quids in and they've been filling their time doing more educational things, reviewing what they're eating for the sake of their health. This is, it's not so much the fact that there's change, there always has been change. What is striking and what is highly significant is the absolute speed of that change. And it's caught the collective whisky industry in Scotland completely unaware. Not only that, it's caught every other liquor industry around the world. Bourbon, rum, not so much bourbon by the way, but bourbon will be catching up fast when it comes to putting on the brakes in production, because people are saying, hang on, wait a minute. I've got to look after my health now, because look at the healthcare premiums. Look at the consequences of people who are not eating sensibly, not sleeping properly, and are consuming too many pharmaceutical products. People are kind of waking up. Some people will never wake up. It's just the way it goes. But the sort of people who drink whisky are smart people. They're informed people, generally. The ones that don't just guzzle it and get drunk in bars. You've met them. We all know them. We know of them. Even if we don't socialise with them. And the consequence is that you've got an industry now that's going into silence. A silence of mild shock. Some distilleries have already closed their gates. They've gone bust. And they're waiting for a buyer. And they're struggling to find a buyer. because the whole landscape for starting a business in the modern environment is so utterly hostile that it's just not worth considering. Along with this, there is a growing awareness amongst the younger professionals in the whisky industry that the older professionals in the whisky industry generally have been absolutely ignoring and even vocally dismissing and publicly ridiculing online social media as being irrelevant, misinformative, and ill-advising. This has turned out to be an opinion. I'm going to be tactful about it. A misguided opinion. A lot of people who are into whisky are now specifically tailoring their target for buying whisky according to the conversations in Reddit forums, in Discord forums, including my own and my Patreon channel. And furthermore, even I'm picking up on things I should be buying now and reviewing because I already know that my subscribers are buying these products and are just looking for my opinion. It's a two-way process, very much a two-way process now. But the whisky industry's been very slow to understand the two-way process. They have been very dogmatic. Even when people have been no longer spending, they continue to heftily raise their prices, particularly on slightly older single malts. And they're not selling the way they should be. They're not getting the volume of sales. And it's kind of embarrassing when you start discounting them. You can do it a little bit, but no more than 25%, or it starts to look awkward. I anticipate that there's a lot of whisky fans who are holding off for the next 5 months. They're waiting to see what October and November and early December brings to the market. The sensible bottles will be bottling unchill filtered, natural colour, 46% integrity Scotch or any other spirit, with little condescending, patronising marketing BS flannel, and they will put their product out at realistic, practical, accessible prices for countries that are now slipping into a long-term recession. It's not rocket science. Tell you something else that's happening. You've got whisky fans right across Europe who are spending less time in high street retailers and online specialist retailers because they're busy looking at the auctions and they're picking up the bargains. There are really good whiskies to be had. Let me tell you a story. One of my subscribers, my Patreon subscriber, excuse me, gotta move the glass. Hi, big fella, what is it? What is it? You know, when you're coming in here, you know, I'm recording, so could I just move you around so you can say hello to the whisky fans? Here you go. That's the whisky fans, mate. Can you say hello to the whisky fans? Do you want a wee sniff of the whisky? Yeah. No. Do you want a wee taste of the treats? I know it's why you're here. There you go. Don't tell your wee brother because he'll want one too. Well, he'll want some too. Whisky fans are going to auction. They're discovering bargains. People who have acquired investment collections of whisky are now panicking that they're never going to get a return on their investment for the next 20 years, that in fact they should have put their money into an S&P 500 index fund and got at least 10% a year on average, which is the way it generally works. Frequently you get more because that's technology. And they have been building up these personal collections, and now, rather than dump them onto the market, they are filtering, excuse the term, filtering out their whisky into the auctions to sell them gradually to recoup some of their losses. This means that we are seeing some of the less desirable whiskies, but also some very good quality whiskies, going at auction for very reasonable prices. I had a friend in the US who had been in Europe, because he has got a home in Europe, and he saw the bottles on sale in the specialist retailer in New York, and he basically cross-checked on his mobile device, formerly called a mobile phone, now it's a device, and he realised that they're charging roughly 50% more than what he could get for the same bottles at auction. But here in the shop, they were behind a glass case, all beautifully lit, and vintage, collectible, you know, the usual flannel that we get from the industry. This trend is going to continue, mark my words. 2025 may be bad for the whisky industry. 2026 will be worse. The businesses that are still standing at 2030, still making money, are the ones that actually take a reality check and connect with us, their customers, the people who give them our money to buy their product. And if the product and the price isn't right, we're not buying. That's the fact of it. That's the landscape. I know that I've combined really two extras into one here, because I could have focused specifically on auction, what to look for in auction, but my next review, 1080, is going to be an auction bought bottle. So at that point, the extras is going to be more of a deep dive into auctions and what I'm looking at and what trends I'm seeing. And I'll be discussing that and sharing it with you. So I hope you'll join me. Until then, see you soon. Bye-bye. Oh, and one final thing. You've made it this far. You've probably enjoyed the content. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. And with any luck, you might actually get notified when I put up other videos. See you soon.